And first of all, I want to thank you for this invitation. I have a feeling of privilege somehow, but also a feeling of not being in my shoes. I have to be very sincere about that. Because, yes, I think that I have some expertise in media studies and some expertise in social media, but definitely I didn't carry out work, and I don't consider myself as a competent person as regards risk, disasters, management, communication, or mitigation. And but even if I'm not an expert related to the special issue discussed today, I thought that having a fresh eye, maybe after, of course, being invited by Professor Ozunu, and I am really, really grateful to him, a fresh eye could be useful for this discussion about how social media platforms change disasters response actions. And one of the main points of my presentation, which will be more general, I know for sure that Monica, who had carried out a very, very good PhD thesis on this very specific topic, will be more specific than mine. The main point to be discussed is actually the issue of advantages, disadvantages of social media with respect of disasters mitigation and response, and how these social media platforms are significantly or are not significantly different to those of traditional media. What I'm sure all of us agree at this moment is the fact that now effective disaster risk management depends on effective communication. That's common sense, and there is not much to disagree about that. What exactly is the meaning of effective communication today? I think it's not so clear. From a classical approach in relationship with what was the use of traditional media, mostly effective communication meant persuasion and information transfer. A sender, a public authority, or institution responsible for disaster management was essentially interested in effective information transfer and persuasion of the public as concerns the desired behavior in order to mitigate as much as possible the negative consequences of disaster. Doesn't matter what kind of disasters. Social media platforms change that, and we will see why change that, and change that in a very, very significantly matter as concerns this point of what an effective communication is today in relationship with disaster risk management. We have actually 5 very, very different approaches. They are not exclusive. They are not in competition with one with the other, but definitely they have to be taken into account altogether. We have, of course, persuasion. We have, of course, information transfer. It's nothing changed about that. But also we have this tech of public participation, which is specifically made possible by social media platforms. And also somehow important, I would dare to say, this issue of empowering citizens to make decisions, which is completely different than the traditional way to deal with risk and disaster management. What change actually, and what are the changes actually brought by the social media platform. In my view, they are not only a new opportunity which bring challenges and also disadvantages, as we'll see, and as most of us know very well. But also they represent, in terms of their features, actually an almost completely new tool in an old game. I mean, social media platforms reshape radically everything related to communication aspects is carrying out in relationship with the topic of interest. I mean, risk and disasters management. I would say that these social media platforms or social network sites are now compulsory tools in almost every type of activities important for what is risk and disasters management, which actually is in terms of meaning prevention, preparedness, response, recovery, mitigation phases to reduce the hazard, risk, and vulnerability of the affected communities. And that's one of the main important points related to social media platforms. Another very important point is that the usefulness of these platforms, and they are only a tool, which is very, very important to understand. They are useful or are not useful in terms as depends their usefulness of competency and the kind of use approach and implemented by the authorities, and in a second kind of level by the public, but this is a different aspect. I will refer to that immediately. What is really, really important is the fact that actually the usefulness today of social media platforms is highly dependent of an integrative approach, which considers not only social media platforms, but also big data and the use of artificial intelligence, regardless of the type of activities carried out, which could be synthesized in two different types. I mean, dissemination of information, of monitoring of information. And for both of them, dissemination or monitoring, these two aspects, big data and AI, are very, very important and definitory for the use of social media platforms. Why we have a new game, not only a new tool, is because authorities has also a completely different role, a role which was not possible to have in the environment of traditional media. I mean, now they are actually a node in a virtual network, and their communication activities almost compulsory include a strategic redistribution of information. They are not only creators of information, they are not only senders of information, but they are also, in order to be effective, they should be actually also involved in this strategic redistribution of information published on social networks by other stakeholders, or this process of assessing, monitoring, assessing, creating messages and redistributing the messages. Of course, it's possible to be effectively carried out using not only big data, they are naturally associated with social media platforms, but also artificial intelligence. As concerns the public, that's actually, I would say the most important change, the fact that we don't have a receiver of the information, but we now have an active player, and the public, it's not only the beneficiary and the client, the customer of the public institutions, of the institutions involved in management of disasters, but they are players, they are partners. And this is, I would say, special and very, very particularly made possible by the changes bring by social media platforms. Two examples, and of course the picture is not from the event described. It's only for, descriptive use. It's not from Grosh, it's not from Romania, it's from internet. But even if it's not from Romania, remain somehow, the picture is not important, of course. What it is important, it's this kind of example for what is the meaning of a new game in using social media platforms. And we have this example from Romania, from 2014 floods, and a town from Gorj County, where initially social media posts showing the rapid rise in water levels of the Giro River prompted a swift and very, very effective response from local authorities. As concerns the old game, even if I'm not aware about the presentation prepared by Monica, I'm very, very sure that she would refer to that, because in her thesis assessed how the local public authorities in Romania, I mean the mayoralties, use social media platforms in a very, very traditional way for disseminating information through push tactics, which means messages developed for traditional channels are taken over and put on Facebook without almost any adaptation, besides the one, of course, required by their presence on the platform. But the Facebook is used mainly as a classical newspaper, and it's quite often is not used and is not addressed, taking into account the radical changes bring by this kind of platforms. Okay, some words about, and there are more than firm statements. There are exactly related to what I understand to be one of the main objectives of this kind of meetings. I mean, point of discussions and points of debates, the occasions for debates. So here we have synthesized some of the main advantages related to social media platforms. The terms used by me may be correct, may be wrong, as equivalent with social network sites in this field of disaster risk management. And they are not exhaustive, they are a selection and represent a synthesis of what the literature of the field presents as advantages and, of course, benefits of this kind of platform. The first one, it's information dissemination, which very, very often has as the main advantage the possibility of real-time updates. We here are referring to information about the nature of disasters, areas affected, safety measures, evacuation routes, advice, instructions, and so on. Definitely, social media platforms bring a radically new advantage related again to the relationship between the public authorities which have the responsibility to intervene and carry out actions, and the population affected by the disasters. Another very, very important advantage, opportunity also, is related to this dimension of information dissemination and real-time updates. I mean, the possibility of crowdsourcing information and the activity, which sometimes is referred as a separate one dimension, because it's very important in itself, the monitoring. Here I choose to consider them somehow equivalent. Of course, they are not entirely equivalent. And the content of this kind of advantage is related to the fact that incidents are reported, and are reported with geotag photos, are very, very easily to be specially assigned. And videos, damages are more easily assessed by social media platforms. It's possible to identify misinformation or panic, which is clearly related to the challenges of the social media platforms. It's quite easily to predict potential disasters related issues, to understand and assess the effectiveness of response efforts. As concerns the community engagement and mobilization, it's very, very clear that using social media platforms, everything related to how we mobilize volunteers for rescue operation, how we organize relief efforts and community support, the fact that also groups and events can be quickly organized, public awareness campaigns could be about disaster preparedness and safety protocols. All of these could be relatively easy carried out, implemented using social media platform, and all of these are very, very important steps, very important dimensions, activities related to the objective of communicating the risk, to mitigate the disaster's effects. Also, what would be almost impossible, or for sure very, very difficult to organize, to carry out in the frame of traditional media, I mean, all the activities related to training and preparedness are immensely easier to be carried out. And these activities related to sharing educational content on disasters preparedness are definitely and actually become an important one in this new environment, which includes social media platforms. As concerns the challenges, here we have what we know, again, most of us very, very well. The problem and the labels are very different, are very distinct, but beyond the label, the problem is the same, the content, the substance is the same. This issue related to what is the digital divide, the fact that the use of social media platforms is filtered, is conditioned by access. And access is not equally available. The access is actually very unequal in terms of physical access to internet, or to devices required, to physical devices required to use social media platforms. And it's also related to a minimum technology literacy. The problem with the access, the problem with the digital divide is the fact that actually very, very often the people who are most in need of support in this kind of event, when this kind of events happened, are actually those who have the least access to and the least understanding of the technology. And that could be a major problem. Another issue, another challenge, because for many of them, take for example this issue, this challenge of reliability of data and information. Here we don't have a clear play, a clear and white or black issue. Reliability of data information, okay, on social media platforms, we have a lot of data, and I've already said that this information is very, very important in terms of monitoring, in terms of designing intervention, in terms of carrying out intervention. But the availability and the quantity of information put also a major problem, and that was mentioned by Professor Ozunu and was on the topic mentioned as being important for this discussion. The fact that information is not verified very often, quite often the information is plainly false. There is possible to have a mix of sources in terms of reliability. The authority of official sources could be undermined. Related to that, sometimes we could have plain misinformation campaigns when false information is deliberately spread. And this is extremely important to be discussed because it's not a very, very clear, we don't have a clear solution. When we, we raised the issue of the freedom to disseminate information of the internet, using social media platforms. And when we try to monitor and block what we consider a false information, we actually could interfere with one of the main quality of the social media platforms, the fact that the information is not filtered and it's available there. Okay, it's a raw material. The problem is to find and to give meaning, to find relevant meaning in a sea of noise. We could consider false information as a kind of noise. Definitely, when we speak about deliberately spread false information is more than noise. But this problem and the issue, the challenge to find a balance, a tuned balance between the plentiness of information and the usefulness of having a plenty of information and the possibility that some of this information to be false, to not be reliable, it's a very important one. And I say again, that's one of the reasons to treat, I think, social media platforms as a tool in a whole package with big data issue, which definitely is a content and is a feature of social media platforms, which defines the advantages of social media platforms, and actually artificial intelligence, which is extremely important, not only for monitoring, but also for discriminating between what is useful and what could be not so useful or even dangerous in relationship with this activity of disaster risk management. Another problem, which I don't know, maybe it's important, it's not important, I think it deserves to be discussed, the problem of material weakness. Social media platforms and any kind of device, any kind of using the media, and that's valid for a good part of traditional media also, is useful. Using social media platforms is possible, and social media platforms is useful as much time as you have working battery with your device. And sometimes the problem with disaster situation is exactly the fact that you don't have electrical power. But of course, in relationship with the benefits of social media platforms, that it's an issue to be taken into consideration, but not a very, very important one. Ethical aspects, otherwise, they are important. They are important, and here we can discuss the risks to exclude people, which is somehow related to what I mentioned in relationship with access, the issue of access, and also these issues related to privacy, the risk of sharing or sharing sensitive information about people. Here again, we have a very fine balance between the need to inform, the need to intervene, the need to make something, and the need to protect people and to, sometimes an intervention has benefits, but not only benefits. Actually, I think all the times every benefit comes with a cost. And the problem is to find a balance between costs and benefits. Okay, that was, and thank you very much again. I don't know if I think it's a little bit more than 15 minutes. Thank you very much.